Before we get into the actual video itself, I just want to say thank you all so much for all the support on my last video. That video took a really long time to make, from the script writing to the voiceover to the editing. It was really hard to get all of this done while having to deal with my 9 to 6 at the same time. I mean, I knew this video would do decent, but I was expecting more like 15k views, 20k if I got lucky. But nearly 60k! Whew, that is something else entirely. If I told 15-year-old me about this, he would have told me that I've gone completely mad. So yeah, thank you all once again for all of the support. I do have plans for my next video essay, but it will be a while before I even announce it, since those videos take forever to make. So in the meantime, it is back to my usual gun reviews, and with that, on to the video. Call of Duty Mobile is a game with a wide variety of weapons, 107 to be exact as of the time of making this video. So naturally, we'll have weapons that are way overtuned, being leaps and bounds better than the rest, along with weapons that are way underpowered, the bad weapons, to put it bluntly. Pretty much every weapon category has at least one of these bad weapons, and when it comes to the assault rifles, we have several candidates for the quote-unquote worst assault rifle. Now if you asked me a season ago what is the worst assault rifle, I would have picked the ICR-1, a weapon that sacrifices everything for a niche that barely exists, and the idea of making a video on this gun was definitely not on my bingo card. But with this season's balance changes, the ICR has received quite the hefty buff, and is actually a very interesting weapon now. So in light of this gun's redemption arc, I shall be speaking in defense of the ICR-1. Before we get into the actual stats of the weapon, some of you might be curious. What was the problem with the ICR-1? Oh, wait, wrong video. Hold on, let me rephrase that. What made the ICR so bad that I'd consider it the worst assault rifle in standard multiplayer? Well, this is one of those cases in which a single stat completely ruins the weapon. The ICR specializes at longer ranges due to certain benefits which we'll get into later, but as a trade-off, its initial time to kill is horrendous at 300 milliseconds. This is the slowest out of any fully automatic weapon, and its fire rate is not great either, so missed shots are quite punishing relative to its time to kill, making it unusable for close range fights. The reason this is such a bad trade deal is because most gunfights in standard multiplayer happen within close to mid range, so anywhere within 0 to roughly 30 meters. Most maps don't have very long sightlines, and the existence of objectives means that you're actively encouraged to get closer to the enemy, so its upsides are not often realized. To add insult to injury, the ICR isn't even the best at its niche, as there are weapons that are just as, if not more effective at longer ranges while being, guess what, way more competitive in closer ranges. This means that the ICR sacrifices way too much for a niche that basically doesn't exist, and it's not even the best at it. The true definition of a pointless weapon. At least the Vargo S has decent close range time to kill, and the M4 doesn't take 3 business days to get a kill. Not that it's that much better though. But that was last season. As with the balance changes this season, the ICR has received buffs to some of its attachments, which now improve its damage multipliers. With the YKM Integral Suppressor Lite and Macro Mag IFS, the ICR can now achieve a 3-tap in the initial range by landing 1 lower arm shot and 2 stomach shots. This will give you a very competitive time to kill of 200 milliseconds. Now if this number sounds familiar, that is because this is identical to the USS-9. Yeah, you heard that right. This gun can kill as fast as the best SMG in the game right now. Although the ICR isn't quite as consistent as the USS-9 since upper arm shots are pretty punishing. Landing just a single upper arm shot or leg shot will ruin your chances of 3-tapping unless you get a chest shot in the mix. So while the USS-9's 3-tap is practically guaranteed, the ICR's is somewhere in between the KN-44 and HVK. It's not inconsistent, but it does mean that there will be times where you 4-tap when you're expecting a 3-tap. Beyond this range, the ICR will drop down to a 4-tap for a time to kill of 300 milliseconds, although it is possible to extend the 3-tap all the way up to the second damage phase, if you land one headshot combined with 2 stomach or lower arm shots. This 4-tap range effectively extends to infinity, so it is very consistent at longer ranges. Speaking of longer ranges, the ICR features great accuracy, allowing you to make full use of its time to kill at range. In fact, this is one of the weapon's main selling points. Its BSA is plenty for the ranges you typically find in standard multiplayer, and its recoil is arguably one of the lowest in the game. The kick is extremely low, to the point where most of you won't even feel it, and the pattern is very simple, going straight up for the first 15 shots before it starts to lean slightly to the left for the rest of the spray. Since we're on the topic of key selling points, we should talk about its signature attachment, the Macro Mag IFS. This attachment provides a ton of utility, and turns it from a regular assault rifle to a surprisingly effective AR-LMG hybrid. The most obvious upside is the mag size. The ICR has a very impressive magazine capacity at 65 rounds. This beats pretty much every other assault rifle in terms of kills per mag, and means that you'll rarely find yourself running out of ammo, completely nullifying the slower reload speed. When you also consider the fact that this is a slower shooting gun, you also have a very long spray time for assault rifles, allowing you to pre-fire for extended periods of time, albeit not to the same extent as true LMGs. The only other assault rifle that beats this is the Kilo 141 with the 100 round drum, but that attachment isn't very good, and the gun itself is quite underwhelming, so practically speaking, the ICR has the best ammo capacity. The mag also significantly increases its penetration values. If you pair this with FMJ, which I highly recommend, you are looking at one of the few weapons that can achieve a penetration value of 100%. That's right, this gun doesn't lose damage through walls, meaning that you can kill surprisingly fast against enemies hiding behind cover. If you're playing on maps that have plenty of light to medium walls such as firing range, this is a scary weapon to play against, although it is worth noting that this gun can't penetrate through heavy materials unlike true LMGs, so there are some wallbang spots that are not possible with this weapon. The last benefit is the least significant one, but one that can still be extremely useful in niche circumstances, that being the bullet impact. The ICR features one of the highest bullet impact values in the game at 1.55. The only gun that beats this is the RAL MG. This means that it can deal a ton of hit flinch, especially since its fire rate is slow enough to bypass the flinch cooldown, allowing each shot to deal that higher hit flinch. So you can really screw over enemies who are using weapons with higher hit flinch that dare to challenge you at range, as you effectively force them to miss unless they have toughness. If you're trying to challenge an ICR at range and you don't have toughness, well, I hope you're ready to convert because you're about to see heaven. But all this utility does have some trade-offs. Aside from the previously mentioned 3-tap consistency, the ICR also has a shorter 3-tap range at 22 meters. The only meta 3-tap with a shorter range is the HVK-30, but that gun has a faster time to kill with better consistency. So this means that between close to mid-range, the ICR will struggle a bit against the meta flex weapons. Its mobility and handling are also on the slower end. Its ADS time is slower than average at 290 milliseconds, and its sprint speed is not great, being below 6 meters per second. It is not terribly slow as far as assault rifles are concerned. You can certainly do much worse, but you can tell that this weapon is not meant for aggressive encounters. But if that's what you want, don't worry, because this gun somehow has more build diversity than weapons with the Black Ops or Vanguard gunsmith system. By swapping out the macro mag for the 38 round fast mag, you can completely change this weapon's role. Congratulations, you just made a wannabe USS-9. Compared to the macro mag build, this build has a much faster ADS time, being nearly 100 milliseconds faster. This is actually faster than a lot of SMGs, so you can be pretty aggressive with this gun. Both its sprint and ADS movement speeds are quite average as far as assault rifles are concerned. As a trade-off, you lose all of the utility that the macro mag offers. So no big mag, no 100% pen, and no crazy bullet impact. You also lose the stomach multipliers in exchange for upper arm multipliers. This is a problem because the stomach is one of the easiest locations to hit on the body, so you're usually hitting way more stomach shots than upper arm shots. Now that the stomach punishes your 3-tap potential, you will find yourself getting a lot less 3-taps. You could try to aim higher, but that will only hurt your accuracy in the long run since you aren't aiming for center mass, which is again the easiest spot to aim for, and it also makes you more vulnerable to drop shotters and slide peekers. Now personally, I don't really like using this mag since you lose all of the unique benefits that the macro mag offers for a worse version of the HG40, which features an even faster time to kill potential, better mobility, larger mag size, while being just as accurate for the intended ranges. This mag is really just a copium attachment for those who really can't stand the slower playstyle of the macro mag but still want to use the ICR. So after all of that leads us to the question: is the ICR meta now? To put it simply, no. Despite having a reasonably achievable 3-tap potential, it is still not as consistent as some of the other meta weapons with similar lethality. It also doesn't help that this 3-tap range is shorter than most of them. And with the fact that it has slower mobility and handling, means that it will struggle a good bit against the meta weapons in close to mid range, which is arguably the most relevant range in standard multiplayer. But if you're the type of player who prefers to stay back at longer ranges with a more passive weapon, the ICR is easily one of the best options available. Unlike most passive assault rifles, the ICR is not completely defenseless if it does get caught in more aggressive encounters, as the 3-tap potential does allow it to fight back to some degree, making it more versatile than other similar options. This, along with all the unique utility it has to offer, means that it is a fantastic choice for the main AR playstyle. When it comes to building the ICR-1, there are 2 ways you can go about it. The first one is the AR-LMG hybrid build. Start with the Macro Mag IFS for the improved multipliers and LMG benefits, YKM Integral Suppressor Light for concealment and to further improve its 3-tap consistency, Granulated Grip Tape for better BSA, No Stock to improve mobility and handling, and the FMJ perk to maximize that wallbang damage. If you don't like the slower reload speed, you can instead use the Sleight of Hand perk. Or maybe you don't like the iron sights and don't have a good blueprint, in which case you can use an optic of preference for better visibility. The second build is if you really want to use it like a wannabe USS-9. Take the same build from before, but replace the macro mag with the 38-round fast reload. With this build, you can replace the FMJ perk for the RTC laser 1mW for better hipfire spread, useful since you'll be playing more aggressively with this build. Or alternatively, you can use long shots for the slight improvement in damage range. And that covers everything there is to know about the ICR-1. The amount of utility that this weapon has, combined with the fact that it can actually 3-tap now, makes it surprisingly versatile for a passive weapon, while making it very unique compared to other assault rifles. And sure, it might not be a meta pick, but being a decent off-meta weapon is a pretty big step up from being a bottom 3 assault rifle. But that's just my experience from using the weapon, so what do you guys think about the ICR-1? Do you think it's actually good now with all the buffs it got, or do you think it could use a little bit more? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you found the video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. But until then, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.